Good morning everyone, Rebecca here from Simple Suburban Living, and in today's video I'm going to be making and canning Thai sweet and spicy dipping sauce. So I already have 3 cups of vinegar boiling, and I'm going to add 3 cups of sugar, and I need to simmer and stir this until it dissolves. And then once the sugar has dissolved, I'll reduce the heat and simmer it for 5 minutes. Okay, the sugar is almost dissolved, but not quite. Dissolved, and I am going to reduce the temperature. And I'm going to simmer it for 5 minutes, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, it's been simmering for 5 minutes, and so now the instruction is to remove it from the heat. I'm using an induction burner, so I am just turning the power off. And the next step is to add the garlic mixture and hot peppers. So what I have here, the garlic mixture, is I have 1/4 cup of minced garlic and 1/2 tablespoon of salt. And so I'm going to put that in. And I also have 1/4 cup of red pepper flakes. All right. And I'm just going to stir that real well. And now we're going to fill our jars. So you can see this is a super simple recipe that doesn't use a whole lot of ingredients. I am using 1/2 pint jars, actually 1/2 pint wide mouth jars, which I just recently picked up. I hadn't used these before, but I'm using 1/2 pint jars, and I have had these along with the lids in simmering water. And so this is definitely 100% a hot pack recipe, so I'm going to be filling these jars now, and then I will be putting them into my Nesco canner. Now, you do not have to have a smart canner to do this recipe. It is a water bath recipe, and any water bath canner or large stock pot will work, but I'll be showing you the process in the Nesco canner. Okay, let's go ahead and fill the jars. Okay, I'm wanting to keep these jars hot, so I've only taken 2 out right now, and I also don't know how many jars I'm going to end up with. So I'm using 1/2 recipe. I'm making these actually for my daughter's birthday. We moved from Colorado to California, just a little over a month ago. And this is actually the first time I've ever been away from one of my kids at their birthday. And I often like to cook things. They know that that's the way that I show love, and I tend to cook for birthdays and things like that, and I'm not able to do that, so I'm working on a care package. But anyway, I have 5 1/2 pint jars ready to go. And I don't suspect that I will fill all of them, but we'll see. I'm supposed to fill them to about, I think I've kind of overdone that one a little bit, to about the bottom rim here. So I have overdone both of them, but let me debubble them, and then I'll know exactly how much I need to take out. By the way, if you hear that beeping, I am heating water to put in the canner, so that's what that noise is. So I've put another jar down here. I don't know if you can see too well, but I'm going to just remove a little bit from each of these jars to start this 3rd jar. And I'm kind of checking the headspace because I don't want to overdo the headspace. or underdo rather, the headspace. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and work on filling up the third jar. Using hot jars, I'm using a hot dipping sauce, and I will be using hot water in the canner, so everything is going to be hot. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to have cold jars and then a hot filling or anything like that. So I don't really think there's going to be a whole lot to debubble with these because they're pretty much liquid. But I just want to be on the safe side. And actually, to get these out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and put the lids on these three that I've done already and put them in the canner. I'm going to make sure the lids are centered, and then put on the ring fingertip tight, and I'm placing them into the canner. And of course I have a rack at the bottom of the canner, and I've already put some vinegar. Oops, speaking of vinegar, I forgot to wipe the rims. I'm glad I was mentioning that, because before I put the lids on, I need to wipe the rims with vinegar. And I've already put some vinegar into the canner because I have a tendency to forget that. That's what I was saying when it reminded me to put these, to wipe down these lids. Okay, so that's 3 that are ready. I have this one that I've started. Oh, I think I'm actually going to have more than what will fit in these jars. So I'm definitely glad I only did a half of a recipe. The whole recipe, it says it makes about 9 8-ounce jars. Okay. I'm going to take just a teeny bit out and put it in the next jar. And I think that's good. Wipe the rim. Notice there was a little bit of garlic on there. Going to put the lid on. Make sure it's centered. And screw on the ring. Fingertip tight. Put it in the canner, and I've got one more to go. Now I only have 5 jars prepared, and I also can only fit five wide mouth jars at a time in this canner. I could put a rack on and potentially add another layer, but since I don't have any of the additional jars ready, I'm not going to do that. Just to show you what's still in the pot. There's not very much left there, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, So let's go ahead and grab the lid. So funny how it's so easy to miss one of the little steps, at least for me, especially when I'm doing the video recording, because I'm one of those people I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Okay, I did that fingertip tight. I'm putting it in the canner. And I'm going to bring the canner forward so you can see inside, and then I'll add the water and do the rest of it. I have 8 cups of water that is hot, and I'm going to just pour that in. And hopefully, yeah, kind of what I was afraid of. It's not enough to bring it up above the jars. But thankfully, I already had kind of a plan B in case that was the case. And that is that I'm going to use water that I had used to boil my lids and my jars. Some of that in from that pot until it covers the jars by about an inch. All right, so that worked out perfectly. All right, so let's move on to the next step. So all of the jars are in the canner. The lid is on, and I'm going to turn it to the closed position. I'm going to set the valve and make it sure it's on the exhaust position. And this is a water bath recipe, so I am pressing water bath. And then I'm going to set the time. And I'm setting it for 20 minutes. This recipe is from the Ball Complete Book of Home Preservation, and it calls for 15 minutes, but because of my elevation, I'm at about a 1,500 foot elevation, I need to add 5 minutes on. So I set it to 20 minutes, and I'm pressing start. By the way, let me mention that it can take up to a half an hour for the steam to come out, a steady stream of steam. I don't think it will take that long this time because I'm starting with hot water and I've got hot product and all of that. So I suspect that it will have the steady stream of steam in less than a half an hour, but I will bring you back and show you that. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but you can probably hear there is now a steady stream of steam coming. So I'm going to go back down here and I'm going to push the start button. You can see now it's put 20 on the countdown timer, and it will now process for 20 minutes, and I'll bring you back when that finishes. You can see the countdown timer is just about down all the way. You can hear that it's still exhausting very nicely. And according to the manual in the Nesco canner manual, it says when it stops to open the lid. But I have found, okay, hold on just a sec. Let me unplug the canner. I have found that there's often, even though I'm doing the water bath canning, it still has some pressure buildup. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going to try to open the lid and we'll see what happens. And you can see I'm not able to do that. So it's because of a safety measure that's in place. So I'm just going to let it come down off of the pressure naturally until it hits the point where I'm able to open the canner, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, it took just a couple of minutes for the little weight to come down. So I'm going to go ahead and open the lid now. And you can see that they're bubbling away. Everything looks good from what I can tell. There's not any siphoning. So the manual for the canner doesn't say anything about letting it cool down a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove them. You can see sometimes I find it a little tricky, a little difficult to grab onto the jar. So let's see. And I'm thinking, there we go. Okay, the rest of them should be easy to get out, but there you can see the beautiful sauce, the little dipping sauce. Oh, and I already heard that one ping. Here's number 2. Oops, and that one pinged. So that's awesome. I'm kind of having a time today, aren't I? Okay, that's the 3rd one. And already hearing a ping. Okay, it's the 4th one. Oh, these are just pinging away. Makes me very happy. Alright, and here's the 5th one. So, you can see that I have 5 jars there. And I'm going to let them cool completely, and then I'll show you them again in the morning, and we'll see what they look like and check to see whether or not all of them have sealed. Hello everyone, it's now the next morning, and I'm going to check and see that if these have sealed. That one has. And by the way, you'll notice that there's a separation with the seeds and the garlic, so you would just shake it before you're going to use it. Okay, so that one's sealed. Okay. All right, so 3 so far out of the 5. Yep. And looks like they all sealed, so that's awesome. So I'm looking forward to sending, I'll probably send a couple of these to my daughter and my son-in-law, and then save the rest for us. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd appreciate it if you would like this video, and of course, as always, if you haven't already done so, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.